Hello, I am Draco from Gatorbox, and welcome to the Fanfiction Factory. It is on this show where I'll take you to parts unknown with familiar faces and places. My crew and I have scoured the corners of the internet for the most interesting fanfiction to read, and it is here where we'll present our findings. Please note that most interesting in this case really means genuinely crazy. For those not in the know, a fanfic is a story usually written by a fan of a video game or TV show that features characters and places from that property in situations and scenarios that the author has come up with themselves. It's an entire art form in and of itself, and fanfics span across all genres of writing. Fanfics are oft maligned or side-eyed by traditional writers because they're seen as simple or unworthy of occupying the space it takes to store them. But here on Fanfiction Factory, we share a different opinion. That fanfics are a valid creative outlet that people shouldn't be ashamed of writing. The medium is a fantastic way to get started writing fiction of your own, and writing fanfiction is like having a complete set of pre-made characters and settings to work with. That doesn't automatically make every fanfic good, however, and that's where we come in. Fanfiction Factory is all about the absurd and the fringe. We want to share with you stories written with the best of intentions that just fall flat on their faces. Now, it's very easy to cry foul and accuse us of punching down by meticulously filtering through fanfics to find the weirdest and worst, so let's address this subject right now before the show even starts. To prove that I have no high ground to stand on and mock these writers, the very first proper episode of Fanfiction Factory will be something that I myself wrote a very long time ago. Yes, I'm a fanfic author, and I am willing to put my neck on the chopping block first so that we can just unwind for a second and laugh at the absurdity of all of this. Before we get into this podcast, however, there are a few house rules I'd like to go over so we're all on the same page with what to expect. Firstly, this is a not-for-profit endeavor. With the exception of episode 1, I did not write any of these stories. Even though me reading them audiobook style could arguably constitute a transformative performance, I wouldn't feel right making any ad revenue off the backs of other people regardless. Fanfiction Factory will reject any sponsors or ad reads, and any funds that we do make through sources such as Patreon will go towards producing the show, and only that. Secondly, this show is rated explicit for language and violent situations, but we will not be exploring any stories that are just straight up pornographic. We have the freedom to do that on this platform, of course, but it is our intention to create a podcast that you can drive or wash dishes to without needing to worry about somebody pulling their dick out. We also understand that sexual situations can be extremely uncomfortable for our listeners in more ways than one, so we're just going to play it safe and avoid the subject matter entirely. And finally, we're not going to be providing anyone's name or identity on this show. When we read our fanfics, we'll tell you the title and when it was published, but that's it. Consider the author of every story to be anonymous. We're doing this because we're just here to have a laugh and to look, not to touch. We absolutely do not want nor do we condone any harassment of the original fanfic authors just because they were featured on this show. There's no need to go out and make it personal and insult other people for something they wrote a decade and a half ago and forgot about. What we are doing here is observation of digital archaeology, not participating in a middle school cafeteria food fight. With that out of the way, stay tuned because the ride is about to start. What follows this introduction is yours truly in episode 1, and after that we're leaving the station proper, and who knows what's going to come our way. It is our hope that we can consistently provide you with something truly unique and interesting, for better or worse, with each installment of this podcast. Once again, I'm Draco from Gatorbox, and I welcome you to the Fanfiction Factory.